So basically, YouTube didn't want to fucking post a comment for me, so I'm creating a video. This is gonna be my first upload in a little while, which is fucking dumb. I've been trying to work on videos in the background, but I don't have motivation. I don't know, man. I'm sad. I'm a sad man. Anyways, yeah, in his, basically in his most recent video, Charlie Penguinzo, Voice Critical, whatever the fuck you want to call him, who I've been a fan of for a little while now, has basically just been asking his audience to, like, essentially just talk about, or vote in, I guess, their least favorite or what they think is the worst AAA game development studio. Now, there are a few, not caveats, what's the word I'm looking for? It's fucking late, dude, it's like 1:40, don't, I can hear you right now, don't even say it, I can hear you. There are a few rules. It has to be a AAA game development company, otherwise, you know, it'd be easy to just pick something off a Steam Market or GOG or some random shit like that, some old developer, some indie developer, whatever makes sense. You can't talk about, like, you know, it has to be about their content, not about, like, controversies they've gotten in or whatever, which makes sense. And you also can't talk, or at least he didn't talk about monetization or anything like that in the game. It has to be purely and just utterly about the content that they've released, which makes sense. And he chose 343 Industries, the developer of the newer Halo games, like post-Reach Halo games, as what he believed to be the worst, like, modern AAA company. I understand the rationale behind that, I really do, but for risk of looking like some kind of fucking cringe lord against Charlie's fanbase, who admittedly are a little one-sided, I'll put my 2 cents in. And that's 343 just gets shit on way too much. The games aren't perfect, but, you know, I've been playing Halo for, what, 14, 15 years now, something like that, and I can tell you that the Halo games have never been perfect. We all know that, but I feel like people look at the older Bungie games with rose-tinted glasses a little too much. So I'm just gonna sort of loosely rant here a little bit about them, starting with the 343 games, just sort of to get my point across, because people aren't gonna watch this whole fucking thing, let's be honest. Halo 4's gameplay is flawed, we all know that. The multiplayer was way too derivative of other shooters at the time. I mean, you can actually trace most of that back to Reach, since that started the whole loadout and Spartan ability system and all that. The weapon balance in 4 wasn't great, but it was nice to have an LMG to be at the top instead of another precision weapon. But for me personally, the campaign of 4 was unlike any other Halo game at the time. Sorry about the vocal fry. And Halo 4's campaign wasn't perfect by any means, but I think they did a pretty damn good job with it, for a Halo game. The only ones that come even close, in my opinion, are 2 and Reach. And speaking of, it did take Reach's sort of darker atmosphere, and a darker, more character-driven narrative, and sort of the continuation of Chief's story with it. It explored Cortana and Chief's relationship to a deeper level, which for me personally was interesting, since it didn't make the mistake of Halo 5 by alienating the fanbase and creating something new and expecting everyone to be instantly on board with it, but instead took something that everybody knew about, that being like Chief and Cortana's relationship, something that's been around the whole time, and elaborated upon it. It was genuinely heartbreaking for me personally, a boy who grew up with the series, to witness the slow decay of Cortana's personality and eventual death, quote-unquote, at the end of the game, alongside Chief. His characterization was damn good throughout the game in my mind, as it was one of the better portrayals of a quiet soldier. You know, he talks when he needs to and only expresses himself when he's feeling an incredible amount of worry for Cortana. This is amazing, in my opinion, compared to how Chief was in 3, where he was just a sort of watered down, less interesting Halo 2 Chief, in my opinion. That's gonna piss a lot of people off, but you know, there it is. It's still a fucking wonder to me that people hate this game so much to this day, and still look at back on Bungie's games with rose-tinted glasses, in my opinion. Moving on to Halo 5. Halo 5 it's something else. It almost certainly has the weakest campaign out of the entire series, but it still had its moments, in my opinion, even though they weren't, you know, it wasn't Halo 2, it wasn't Halo 4, it wasn't Halo Reach, anything like that, it wasn't ODST, but it had its moments. People are a little afraid to admit that, but it feels like people are afraid to fucking admit anything positive related to 343 nowadays. The combat in 5 was fucking good. Every gun felt appropriately punchy and responsive, which is something I forgot to mention for 4. The gun sounds in that game were gorgeous, apart from a few. Like the battle rifle and pistol, they felt a little screechy, but otherwise the gun sounds were amazing. It's the same thing for 5. The game was fucking fast and loud. And, the open combat arena, speaking specifically about the campaign here, the sort of like open combat arena sandboxes didn't quite match Halo 3's, but they were quite nice, and in my opinion they had, like, Halo 5 in general, including the multiplayer, had the best use of vertical space in the entire series. And speaking of Halo 5's multiplayer, here's I guess that's not a super spicy take, but I honestly believe that Halo 5 multiplayer is probably the best one. All the weapons are as balanced as they ever have been, and nearly every single one of them is usable to some degree. The removal of loadouts from 4 and Reach, you know, back to the old style with the equal starts felt a lot more fair, and you know, without people, and the removal of Spartan abilities from Reach as well also meant that, you know, people can't, like, you know, just fucking pull shit out of their ass in the middle of a duel, which is the most annoying fucking thing. Even if it was meme-y shit like armor lock, which wasn't that good as long as you were like half competent and knew how to play around it. It was just fucking annoying because it slowed encounters down to a crawl. They removed all that shit, and that was just lovely for the actual pacing of the multiplayer, because, you know, no annoying bullshit being whipped out in the middle of a duel meant that, you know, it was a fucking duel. It felt fair. The fucking maps were really good in 5. I actually quite enjoyed the maps. I barely remember any of the maps in any of the Halo games' names. Funnily enough, one of the only map names that I remember is fucking Chiron TL34 from the original Halo. I don't know why that one specifically, but I'm very bad with names, but I do remember a good few of them being quite fucking good in my opinion. They all facilitated the advanced movement really, really well. They were very clearly designed around the advanced movement, and they did a damn good job with it. And I think, honestly, out of all, like, the sort of games of that era that had advanced movement, Halo 5 got damn close to doing it best. It was probably only beaten by, like, Titanfall and Titanfall 2, and even then it came pretty close in my opinion. And, you know, of course, there's just the verticality of that game was beautiful. I really liked it, and the maps, it allowed you to do so many interesting plays. It was so fucking cool. As well as Halo 5's, that's another thing that people don't talk about for Halo 5 for some reason. I guess it's just, you know, people don't talk about that game. I get why, but I also don't get why. Sorry if you're hearing random noises. I'm literally recording this under my fucking blanket for, like, noise reductions, that way it doesn't echo and shit. No, the post-launch content for Halo 5 was also just fucking incredible. They dumped so much shit after the game released. A little ironic given Halo Infinite's whole situation, but, you know, they did it back then, and it was really cool. Even if, you know, I don't think the game needed it. I don't think Halo Infinite needs it either. I'll get to that. But Halo 5, it didn't fully need it. It needed it in some ways, like a few more maps and more weapons, but, you know, it was nice to have. It was really nice to have, and Warzone was a fucking gem, and nobody can convince me otherwise, even if the rec packs were a little annoying. Speaking of Infinite, it honestly gets close to being damn close to being my favorite Halo game, with a fucking fantastic campaign. It feels like a beautiful mix of the writing of Halo 2 and the sandboxes of 3, the gameplay of 5, in my opinion. It's a very interesting combination. Chief and the tone of the game are written fucking really well, in my opinion. His sort of larger-than-life action hero style from 2 returns at full force, while it also still tastefully mixes in the more human characterization of his incarnation in 4 into certain scenes, where it absolutely just fucking hits like a truck. See It's All I Know and the mistake speech, both of those just hit way harder than they should have. The sandbox, the actual weapon and gameplay sandbox, is probably the largest selection of available strategies and approaches that the franchise has ever had, due to the open world nature of the game. And, the weapons all have their place in the sandbox, with the honestly one exception of the plasma pistol, which I am pissy about. That gun needs something, but other than that, I'm pretty sure all the other weapons have a pretty appropriate place in the sandbox. And again, like all the other 343 Halo games, they all feel punchy and powerful. The abilities in Infinite, in the campaign, also feel very, very tasteful. More as a selection of regenerating equipment from 3, rather than the out-of-place feeling abilities from Reach and 4. The multiplayer is once again more balanced than anything Bungie has ever put out in the original series, in my opinion, but still not quite hitting the same spot as 5. I love the new equipment. They feel like less annoying versions of their Halo 3 counterparts, and the game also, funnily enough, probably has my favorite movement system in a Halo game, just purely because of the way they implemented Sprint. The only thing I feel is missing from the multiplayer is a better UI and some better maps, and otherwise I'm honestly fine with it. 343 isn't all that bad. They understand when they've made a mistake, and generally they try their best to fix it. Against all my friends' wishes, I had faith in them for Infinite, and personally for me, it paid off. The 343 Infinite hate train is one that I'll never really personally understand, because yes, the game needs some updates and a little more post-launch support, but I think it's overblown. Base gameplay is fine, it's great actually, and that's enough to hold me. At the risk of sounding slightly arrogant and pretentious, I think the issue is people's attention spans. Modern gamers have come to expect so much content to hold them over for so long in a game that that one without it is instantly seen as not worth the time, and it's fucking sad. I know that there are other criticisms too, but that's the main one I see everywhere, and I'm too tired to address everything right now. Now to piss off people and talk a little shit about Bungie's games, again, keep in mind I've been playing for about 14-15 years, so I don't see any of this as a newcomer or some post-Bungie 343 guy. We'll start from the top. Halo CE. Its campaign. I won't agree with I can't remember what fucking article, who wrote it, but there was an article saying that there was an article that they wrote saying that the game is aged like milk, and I'm sorry, but that is just the wrong opinion. Sorry about the interruption and probably the sudden change in audio quality. I had to shift around because my computer's shitting itself currently. Cool. Anyways, where was I? Yeah. The article that said that the game aged like milk, it's just fucking wrong to me. The game has aged really well, but despite that, it still does have its issues. The game was just, its campaign was just fucking full of repeating corridors. I've had a few friends that have started playing through the games for the first time, and I know one of my friends, it's honestly his biggest issue with the first game was that there is just so many repeating fucking corridors. It's confusing as hell to navigate, especially in the second half of the game. You have to repeat entire missions, and it's just the most annoying, obnoxious fucking thing to go through. And Like, in addition to that, the weapons sandbox was extremely limited compared to the future games, not only because the Magnum was so good, but also because everything else was so shit. Sure, the plasma rifle is my baby and the shotgun is one of the better incarnations in the series, but nothing compared to the Magnum's power. The multiplayer could sometimes be fun, but was otherwise extremely unbalanced in one note, basically requiring you to only be good with the Magnum and nothing else, especially in the shitty Gearbox PC release and onwards. Halo 2. Halo 2 had one of the better stories out of all the Halo games, alongside Reach and Fall, and a very strong single-player experience, but that multiplayer ultimately let it down massively. I'm sorry, comp players, the button combos were neat. I know you guys love them, but for the average player, getting shit on by some nerd using combos was just not a fun experience. On top of that, the game is rushed to all the high hell and it shows in some single-player levels. Most missions are split arbitrarily into two for some reason. Tons of annoying bugs and some poor design decisions alongside the latter half of the game, which, by the way, Halo 2 somehow ended both too quickly and dragged on for far too long. I don't know how it managed that, but every single time I decide to replay the entire game, it somehow feels like the game went by super quick and also dragged way the fuck on. It's probably just that second half. It's same as Halo, same situation as Halo CE. The game just, its first half was fantastic and the second half was just shit, or at least not nearly as good. Maybe not shit. Give the game a few more months and it would have been a lot better, but alas. Halo 3 is where I'm gonna start pissing some people off, and I'm gonna fucking cannonball straight into this. Halo 3 is overrated as fuck. Sure, it's great, it's very enjoyable, and probably the most replayable out of, like, all of the Halo games. However, I just feel like people are way too blinded by nostalgia on this one. For starters, the game is just too fucking easy on Legendary. Of course, everyone enjoys different levels of difficulty, so this is more of a subjective criticism, but the game is just too damn boring without skulls. In addition to that, the game feels like it's designed purely for co-op. Without a partner to distract you, the flaws really start to set in. The story of 3 is probably the weakest in the entire goddamn series. Maybe 5 will beat it, but 3 it gets a little close sometimes, and that feels bad to say, but it's fucking true. The dialogue is shit. They replaced Truth's amazing previous voice actor, and I'm not over it. I'm still not over it. I will never be over it. Why? Chief fucking loses his fun, like, action hero side a little bit. He still kind of has it, but he just sort of becomes a flat one-note version of himself. And Arbiter loses his bite after the first mission. In fact, every fucking character in 3 is just a much less interesting version of themselves from 2. They somehow even fucking butchered Grievemind, who was maybe my favorite character in the second game. He's so interesting and intimidating, and they just turned him into some goofy-ass voice that slows you down and pisses you off for all the wrong reasons throughout the entire fucking game. Moving on to the multiplayer, I think it's also a little overrated. Call me insane. It probably had the cleanest run and the most balanced out of all the Bungie games, but most of the guns were still downright useless 75% of the times because of the fucking battle rifle. The maps were also just hit or miss, with, like, most of the good ones just being previous maps ported over, in my opinion, and the original ones just being meh to bad, with a few exceptions. There are exceptions, don't fucking kill me, but let's be honest here, boys. I'm sorry guys, but just an open field is fucking boring to play in most of the time, and for some reason that's like one of the more beloved maps. I get it, the Mammoth is cool, but Jesus fucking Christ, that map's boring. Without it, at least. And even with it, it's the only interesting part of it. ODST, right. ODST was damn good. But the map was a little janky to work with, like the UI for the map was weird. Dare was fucking annoying, and her romance with Bucky just felt a little forced at times. Like, you can definitely do a love story, or like a love, like, side story during, like, a war game or whatever, but it just felt way too forced there. It didn't feel like it belonged at all. And worst of all, in my opinion, was that the game was fucking easier than 3, which breaks the fuck out of my immersion, because you don't even play as a goddamn Spartan in that game, and yet it's the easiest one. It just pisses me off, and it breaks me out of the immersion every single fucking time I play that game. I'm like, I don't know, it just pisses me off. Next up, Reach. Yeah, Reach is honestly a contender with 2 for my favorite Bungie game. It's darker and has a grittier tone, which I like, but still maintains that amazing and recognizable Halo atmosphere and feel to it. And yes, I try to avoid using that stupid fucking iconic meme. It pisses me off. It's arbitrary, not arbitrary. It just, I have no reason for it. It's like a pet peeve. I just don't like it. It annoys me. But still, every issue that people have with Force multiplayer can be traced directly back to Reach. And once again, along with pretty much all the other Bungie games, has piss poor weapon balance, the Spartan abilities and loadouts thrown into the mix. Shit gets frustrating real quick. The equal starts was fantastic. I love the equal starts, and they completely throw that out of the room with Reach. Equal starts are in the shitter, and I don't know. It was just incorporated really fucking horribly. To conclude, yeah, 343 have made some pretty shitty decisions, sure, but so has Bungie with their time with the series. Here's my own proposal. Out of all the AAA developer studios, the worst one is Sledgehammer Games. Not once in their lifetime have they even made a decent fucking, like, Call of Duty game. If we're talking studios that drop the ball massively, then I'm sorry, but Duke Nukem Forever will always be the biggest gaming fuck-up of all time. Yeah. Cheers for, fucking listening to this bullshit rant, if you listen to all of it. Cheers, thanks for that. I'll probably be willing to engage with any further dialogue if anyone wants to talk some Halo after some sleep. I love this franchise, and I always have. It just annoys me to see people shitting on 343 so much. I think they genuinely did some really good stuff with the Halo games, and I don't know. I feel like it's a little overblown, guys. And you know, it's not a personal attack on Charlie or his fans or anything like that. I don't know. I think I disagree. I just disagree with that opinion quite a lot. 343 has fucked up, but like, I don't know, I think their fuck-ups are so like ridiculously overblown by anyone in the Halo community, and it's kind of sad. I really don't like it. Anyways, thanks for listening. I'm fucking tired. Actually, I might not sleep, but I'm gonna try to, maybe. Maybe I'll just fucking play more Deep Rock or some bullshit, I don't know. Thanks for listening! If anyone watches this video, yeah, I'd love to talk more about Halo if anyone watches this and wants to engage in a further, you know, respectful dialogue with me. You know, maybe talk to me about some of my points, tell me why I'm a stupid idiot. I'd love to engage with anyone who watches this. Once I fucking wake up and can be bothered to. But yeah, that's my response to Charlie's thing. Thank you, YouTube, for not letting me just write a fucking comment. No one's gonna see this anyway, so who cares? But you know, like, fucking YouTube, man. I'm signing off. Good. I don't have an outro. See ya, lol. Bye. Fuck you. No, not really. Please subscribe. Don't. Do whatever. Fuck you. Bye.